3, 2, live.
Farts. Old farts. 2 old farts. Steve and Dave. Sometimes you find a diamond in the rough. Not this time, though. This is just rough. 2 old farts. There is no better waste of time. Two guys. 2 old guys. A lot of BS and more drivel than you can shake a stick at. Steve and Dave. God help us.
I love that intro. I keep trying to figure out which god is going to help us, though, because if you go back like to the Mesopotamians, that's a different god. Then you get the god of the Book of Fables, and that's a different god.
Your old neighbours, you mean? That's what you're talking about.
Well, yeah, the guys we hung out with. Yes, those people. Because and then before the Fable book, there were gods, and then in the new fables, there's only one. So for billions of years there were gods, and then all of a sudden we just went to one. So I guess they retired. I don't know how that works. So,
well, I consider myself to be a god. So
Well, I've heard you referred to a lot of things. Let me just say that.
Oh no, sorry, I'm dyslexic. So I meant to say dog. All right, but never mind.
Okay, yes.
Yeah,
it was close. You're the same 3 letters. We're good.
Yeah, was dog a donut? That's the question. That's the burning question today.
There you go. And our guest today is not from New York. I get that in for your New York Nigerian bank. He is from Canada, where the donut is not Dunkin' Donuts. It is Thornton or Paul Thornton Donuts or something is like really big up there, and it's like a religion.
Okay, so Duncan didn't make it up there. So it was a little bit too far for Duncan to travel, do you think?
I think so. I think he stops at the border. I think so. I don't think he has a passport. So, he can't travel that far.
Okay.
So who's our guest today?
Well, he's an artist, a sculptor, an environmental activist. Sent me a whole load of stuff, some of which I understood, some of which I didn't. So it'll be absolutely fascinating to have him on. And it's Mr. Paul Constable. Let's hope he's related to the famous British artist Constable, but we'll find that out as well.
Here we go. Hello, Paul. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Paul.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, good.
I'm doing just great. It's good. Yeah, by the way, it's Tim Hortons.
There you go.
Famous hockey player, played for Toronto Maple Leafs. So I don't know if Duncan. I think Duncan might have made it into Toronto, but
that's about it. When I was in Canada, and we were in Toronto,
I think the Krispy Kremes were where everybody was screaming about. So
no. When I was in Vancouver, everybody said we had to go to a Tim Hortons. That was the whole we have to go to Tim Hortons. We have Krispy Kreme here. And it's the only time Krispy Kreme I found is good is you have to be there the second it comes out. But Tim Horton is good all the time.
Yeah, Krispy Kremes are like super saturated sugar. The donuts fall apart, but oh my good, my teeth hurt when they eat them. So.
Yes, and the good thing is I feel my arteries hardening, and I see my sugar levels go up to the point where that I'm not diabetic, but I could become one. But with Tim Horton, it's a little more calmed down.
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting. Anyway, good.
Yes.
Good being on the show.
Well, thank you for being with us today.
Yeah.
So let me just start off with the art that I've seen of yours from your website and from the pictures that you've sent us to look at. Absolutely gorgeous stuff. So you do environmental art, you do sculpture, and you do normal art. So since you have a wide berth, we'll start wherever you would like today. If you want to start with sculptures or environmental, we're going to leave this kind of up to you because you have a lot you can talk about.
Well, thanks very much, Stephen. Been doing, I guess, art for, as far as I can remember, probably 40, 50 years at times. So back up a little bit. I've been probably the last 25 years, probably mostly on environmental aspects of how my work can, somewhat make it a bit of a difference. I bump into different things. I have different sectors of the environment that disturb me a little bit in how, man is destroying what nature has given us. So, I mean, I'm not a real tree hugger, but I think the sense is we need to be a bit more aware. And if an artist can do that, that's great. They can make that part of their genre if they want. So, I've kind of changed my genre. I've painted landscapes and somewhat realistically and different things. That's what I did. But I've tried to change my direction a little bit over, methodically over the years. So I'll back up a little bit. So you'll see some imagery in the background here. There's some sculpture that I work on. What has happened is there was a call for entries years ago, 2016, I think. We had a big oil spill in the North Saskatchewan River. Now, understanding the North Saskatchewan River runs all the way from Rocky Mountains right across Canada, all the way to Hudson's Bay. It's one of the longest rivers in North America. It probably is the longest in North America. All fresh water. And so where does the pipeline get built? Right on top of the bank, right across the, and we're about halfway on that river from the Rockies to Hudson's Bay. And guess what? They had a bit of a pipe leak for about a day and a half, and it leaked, 250,000 liters of oil and bitumen into the river, which affected all the life form, riverbank all along the way, the villages and the cities that feed out of that river. And, it was for 2 or 3 years, you could still see, they said they did a cleanup. Anyway, they got upset about that. And so I said, well, they had a call for entries from one of the art galleries from one of the cities. Actually, there was 2 cities that were affected by it. They were going to put on a joint show. So they had a call for entries for artists to come and present their work based on that theme of the oil spill. So I knew the curator and the director of the gallery. I'm a member of the gallery. And so she said, we want to do this. I said, okay, I'm going to come up with something, but I want something really different. So what I did is create a political cartoon style of art. And I started off with mostly like 2-dimensional types of work. Like typical, I think I wrote 25 or 30 political cartoons. I developed these 3 characters that you see in the background. There's Reg, Ethel, and little Squeegee in the middle. And Reg is the regular for fuel, and he's the curmudgeon and the there I am in the gallery. So what had happened is I usually create my visuals. I work them out on paper in sketchbooks and layers until they finally, like a cartoonist a bit, you work it down until you get it down to a point where you've got a character development created for it, right? So he's like he is there. And in the early stages, and I hadn't planned on creating, I created these 4 little Zine books that I'm just showing you here.
Right.
That it was a way to present them. But then I thought I was going to initially do these really large cartoons, like on, 2 foot by 3 foot pieces, and have them displayed on the walls. And I thought, well, that's not going to do enough for me. So I said, I need to build something 3-dimensional that could be a part of it. And this is what I do with a lot of my shows now is I have a 2-dimensional aspect to it, but I've added the 3rd dimension being sculpture that relates to those visuals. So I don't know if David's got anything cued. You can see some of the early stages of my building of these things. I make
I got a question.
Yeah.
That's the piece behind you is the piece that we saw in the museum, right? That's the full
Right.
sculpture.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to buy that, is it for sale?
They'd have to buy everything. You couldn't buy just one of the gas pumps.
No. I mean, if they want to buy the full sculpture, right, which would be all 3 pieces, is that for sale or?
You know what? You never say no.
Right.
to what is the sale. Where I make my income from and the way I do public shows.
Right.
They give you a small pittance basically to present the show, so they give you some money. So it helps pay for travel and installation of a show.
Okay.
When you sell one piece out of it, it's done, right? You
Right.
can't do much more. So that's the problem with my work tends to be a little lyrical, so I'm telling a story all the time with my works. I mean, one day I may add a Tesla charging station to the side of this thing and create a different conversation. That's what happens with these two characters when the character development.
Right.
I've got fixed characters. I can't change. I can't change their mouths or their eyes.
Right,
So
right.
there you go. There's some of the early stages. They're made of cardboard, and
Okay.
I glue and paper, and then I paint them, and then they're painted. I don't leave it at that. So I go find some cardboard boxes, and then I work from that. I'll just show you. I don't know. Did I send you the maquette? That's the real early stages. Yeah, right there. So everything is just reliefed, like cardboard cut and pasted onto each other. And then when
Okay.
you layer your glue and newsprint over top of it, it takes
Right.
on the form like it's been molded, right? It gives it that molded look.
So when you say newsprint, and you'll forgive me because I only remember this when I was a kid, like a paper mache, the more newspaper you put over the cardboard, the stronger it gets.
Yep, it's correct. This one
Okay.
doesn't have lots. It's quite fragile, actually.
Okay.
Had to do a bit of repair on it. I mean, it was a mad rush near the end, as most shows are. You're scrambling near the end to meet the deadline and get out. So it's got about 3 or 4 layers on it, which is still quite sturdy. And I use pre-mixed wallpaper paste.
Okay.
There's no lumps in it, no nothing. It's beautiful to work with, and yeah, you just paper mache, and it gives you that. Now this one, they look like they're made out of plaster. I mean, when you look
Yeah.
at them, you paint them all gessoed white.
I
But
thought,
when
or stone.
I've got a visual here. I can move over
Sure.
here. You can see.
Oh, very cute.
This is a clay, actually,
Okay.
it's a plasticine maquette. So I built this before I built the the big ones in the background.
Right.
So this gives you, the look that you want to get for the character development and the gesture, and you can get that. I'll just put it back over here.
No worries.
It weighs like 3 pounds.
Wow.
Anyway, it's quite fragile because it's like plasticine. That's basically
Okay.
It's a sculptor's plasticine. It's specially made for making molds and castings. So you can see them in the background in my studio here. I just threw a white sheet in behind the background while they're developing them. So what I want to say about what happens with this. So I go to the show, I present this product. I said, okay, I'm ready to deliver. And the curator says, no, we don't want it. You're juried out. We're not accepting it. I was just furious because I had the go to do it. This was actually a second showing, not the initial one. But I had another show here at another public facility. But
Wait, can we go back to that slide of that
Yep.
second show? Because it had the birds and whatnot, it looked like. And can you explain what's going on here?
That is
I might have been,
yeah,
I
that's
might have been a bit premature with that one, so sorry,
Yeah.
guys.
I hear you're premature quite a bit, but anyway.
Why-
So,
why don't we
Age related. Age related.
Why don't we
Okay.
leave that one for maybe the next another session, because that is a completely different show. But
okay.
but I think what it is, Stephen, on this one is the understanding that as an artist, you make submissions to places, you're going to get kicked. If you're doing what you really want to do and do it your way or the highway, be expected to be stuck out on the highway once in a while. I
Right.
mean, I've got a stack of refusals. I mean, all artists do. You make proposals and you're done. I tried to get this into that art gallery, and they wouldn't, because they had a preconceived idea what they wanted. They wanted people to do drawings and paintings and things from oil,
Right.
and then they were going to present this so-called pretty show. You got to
Right.
remember that this is an oil town to start with. So I've got this anti-oil thing in a cosmetic, cartoon, tongue-in-cheek manner.
Right.
They really, it was very different than what was going to be presented in their traveling show. So I didn't get in.
Gotcha.
But that fall, because I'm a member of the gallery, they have a members show. So
Okay.
that's where I am. I'm standing there in the members show, and it's center place in the center of the floor, and we got lots of visibility. But you can take characters if you've got that, or sculpture, and this is kind of and you can do things. I've done social media. I've done a whole bunch of. That's a different one, David. Different installation, but I didn't remember
Doing my best for you, Paul, today.
sending you all my stuff.
Yeah.
But
We'll come back to you again on another show and see it somewhere.
yeah,
It's a teaser. It's a teaser for everybody who's watching it now, I think. So
I really like to integrate like that in that storytelling, and when you, especially with kids, when you put a three-dimensional, this thing drew kids like flies. Like they wanted their pictures taken with it, and they were hugging them. I was at a green party AGM, and they wanted these gas pumps there, and I had pictures with the green. They actually joined the green party, which was really kind of fun.
That's
So you can take your stuff and do things with people that want them, and I think that was the premise of me learning that you can reach out. I think on social media, the gallery owner or the gallery director took offense at what I was saying a lot of times with the gas pumps. But I think I've got a visual here. I think can show people a bit bigger there. So I've got a picture here with Reg and Ethel, and Reg has got a Band-Aid on the front of him. And I'll just, I don't think I sent you the visual of that, but I'll just read one of the, I can find the scenario for that so you get the context of the kind of conversation that would be happening. I'd say, you're seeing a picture of, I'll show you a picture. I got two here. So this is what they would see, and in the cartoon they would say, "What happened to you?" He says, "Emergency orthoscopic surgery." You think they could have fixed your leak at the same time? They only fix what is on the requisition form. Besides, I got the last two Band-Aids. So what are they going to patch the pipeline with? So that's the kind of tongue-in-cheek conversations we're having.
Okay.
But
now I'm surprised. I mean, I like that sculpture.
Yeah.
I'm surprised no one's tried to buy that from you. Or is it just because you're in an oil town, as you put it, where that's kind of like, I don't want to own that. But because to me, people would buy that in a second.
maybe
yeah, or they'd want to come and burn it. I think really, because you must have stood on a few toes, Paul, with that.
Maybe the oil guys should have bought it and took it off the market.
No, but I mean, like an art collector, especially because you do environment. That's like environmental art, right? But it's tongue-in-cheek environmental art, and it's very colorful. It's very bright. Like you see it, you just smile, whether you're an environmentalist or not. So to me, it's like very cool. So I'm surprised nobody's tried to buy it. And then if you do something with Tesla, which that's a Ponzi scheme allegedly, and we can talk about that at some other point. But that to me, you would like that would be the grand slam. I mean, someone should buy that.
I think you're only at the beginning stages of everything. Like you can develop and nurture it, and it can go farther.
Right.
I mean, I make proposals and presentations all the time. I had a lot of fun with it. I called it self-serving, and it was one of those. Everything kind of fell together. The magic moment. When everything just pulls together at the right time. I think it's. When you have that kind, it's sort of like when you're painting. A lot of times you're painting, you can't make any mistakes. They just go, right? There's those, you get into those zones, and this is how this one kind of went. One thing fed the other. The parts all kind of felt. I mean, his arms are made out of heater hose. You have to get the right size of hose for it to look like it is, right? Because the scale is about 3/4 size for a gas pump. So I wanted that they need to look real, but you're right. It's kind of Andy Warhol-y a little bit, right? Yeah. It's just pop art. It's kind of pop art.
It's cartoonish in a good way. Yeah. So it's like, to me, listen, I don't know. I only know what I know. To me, I could see a whole series of these caricatures, in whether it's paintings or art or mini sculptures, or where not only would adults buy it, but kids would buy it because it just looks really cool.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
to me, I think there's a whole series here. But I like, but then someone has to, I would buy that. To me, that would be the coolest thing. They look at that, and it's because it's just you smile when you see it.
Yeah, no, he's. I smiled all the time I was making it because it becomes a labor of love. You just keep
Right.
working it until you get it to feel that these two live on this little gas island, which is sort of like our world. They live in their own little world, and they're
Right.
having this. They can't understand what's happening around them, right? Really, Reggie is kind of the company man, and he's caught in the middle of change. He's a leaky gas pump, and Ethel's an ethyl alcohol, which is a grain alcohol, so which they
Right.
used to burn. So it's kind of she's a newer version of the gas, right? And then I think the Tesla thing is a perfect third party, and I don't know how you bring the third party into that just yet, but Squeegee's kind of the bacon soda between the two, right? He's kind of
Right.
that doesn't say anything much. He just his
The,
eyeballs.
the hydrogen
Yeah.
is going to be, I think, the next thing. That's what everybody keeps talking about. So they could have a baby hydrogen. That could, you
There's
can
a
make a whole
family.
family out of this.
Well, it surprises me that somebody like Greenpeace, or haven't picked it up and made a cartoon out of it. And taken up all your characters to sell for, so that money can go back into the environment. Fantastic. So you make a fantastic cartoon.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can make a cartoon out of a sponge, hey, there's hope for all of us.
Yeah. Well, Snoopy went to space, so you never know what can happen.
Yeah, but that's just endless drug abuse, I think. But
Anyway, it's kind of fun that I can, like I said, I've been marrying. My sculpture has been developing in different in forms, because a lot of times I'll do works out of recycled out of plastics, and they come
Right.
out of different things. This one was actually just paper mache, and you think, oh, paper mache. No, paper mache is very cool, and it's very old form of doing art, but it's immediate, it's inexpensive, and you can manipulate it to be pretty much whatever you want. Like it doesn't have to look like paper mache, right? Like
Right.
like make a little bowl when you're 5 years old, right, or something. So
But
So,
that certainly
Paul-
doesn't look like paper
sorry.
mache. That certainly looks like it's a sculpture, or it's something more than it actually is. But paper mache, if you start thinking about it, you're taking old newspaper and recycling it. So it's still part of that, recycle, whether you're using plastic or paper or whatever it is, right? Or even the cardboard boxes, you've recycled it into art. So it still has that environmental feel to it.
Yeah.
actually,
Paul, can I ask you a question? How do your paintbrushes feel about your new affair with all the paper mache?
well, I use
Are they jumping up and down and saying, "Come on, Paul, come back to the canvas and paint something"?
yeah, some days they're like that. Some days I prefer. Yeah, I've been away from the canvas for a while. Mostly I paint some plein air things on panel, but the different brushes for different things, right? So that's what we do. These ones are probably more commercial 2-inch brushes that you'd buy at Sears or Home Depot. So it's kind of and then the finer details, you bring your other finer brushes out for that. But you're painting walls basically, because they're big volumes of stuff.
Yeah.
But that's a technical.
But what I was sort of alluding to really is, has this taken you away forever from painting on canvas?
Oh no, I'm no, I delve in different things, and I use the mediums that I have around me. But canvas is always with me in paint. That I think that was probably my first, I guess, love is the painting, drawing aspects of everything. But I find I need to go back and forth between them. I got to stop and start. And some people can paint one beautiful painting right after the other, but there's a lot of people that paint really well. And I've always had a saying that I think a lot of people who paint well are painting the wrong stuff. They have this incredible ability, but they paint to a market. And
They don't paint for what they love. They paint they paint for money.
Yeah, I don't paint for the. Unfortunately, I was in the graphic design business for years, so I kind of not semi-retired, but I don't have to work full time, full out. which is kind of nice. I'm able to paint and draw what I want. Doesn't sell, doesn't sell. I mean, my kids will have that problem to get rid of it.
All right. Well, tell your kids, God forbid, when that day finally comes, call me on this piece. So I think I read somewhere that you have a show until March 31st. Do you want to talk about that, or where the show is, or what you're showing, or is that not into the genre?
Gentlemen, can I just jump in before that and ask Paul? There seems to be a renaissance, certainly in Europe, a sort of a renaissance of what they call outdoor art. So it would be the same sort of structures that you're currently building out paper mache, but people are doing it out of sort of chicken wire and cement and plaster, and having it in the town, in their gardens. And is that something that that could interest you? Because obviously your figures are right up there for it.
Yeah, they would have to be a bit more weather tolerant than they are. They'd have to be definitely in the concrete area or into the plastics of some kind. I think you lose some factor if it goes into the plastics. It gets a little slick and clean too much, maybe shiny. But I have this last year, I've been working with plastics for environmental things. I don't know if I sent you a shot of some large flowers or something, but I'm like a couple of my main concerns. I think you saw a visual and from the another show. I think if you want to go to that one where I think the ravens are there, and I think there's that.
Oh, the ravens that's the one. Yeah, the raven one, David, where you went in really quick.
Yeah.
And came out. That one.
You can find that one in your feed there. So a lot of times, I'll give a quick premise to it. I don't know.
There we go.
Yeah, there. So there is a feeling where I've done sculpture and paintings together. They're large paintings. They're 3 foot by 4 foot paintings each. Most of them, some even bigger. So I've taken parts of vehicles and I'll give you the quick premise of what this show was about. It was wildlife damage on the highway is huge across North America and Europe. 1 million animals a year die. Like, it's huge amount, like little ones, big ones. A lot of deer in our province die on the road. So I see these every time I go on the highway, and it bothered me. So I thought I need to bring some awareness to this. I tried to get some sponsorship from our cell phone company and our insurance companies, but they bury their head in the sand. In 2008, these damages to wildlife increased dramatically when we got cell phones, driving distracted. And it was a huge issue. So I thought, well, how do I respond to some of this stuff? So I said, okay, well, I'll go, and I took photos of it. I did the paintings in the background, and the show actually it was called Oblivious. And the show actually toured quite a bit. It's going to get retoured again. I'm renaming it. It's going to be repackaged and sent back out again. But I built sculpture using tires and vehicle parts, bumpers and fenders and things. And so I created this carcass in the foreground there. You can see that. The raven in the background is chewing on the front of a Jeep. He's about 7 feet long. And the scale of things, the birds that are up above are 6. They got a 6 foot wingspan. I actually have hanging in my studio right now. So, and you're right, David. There's things Stephen, they come out of things. I've got a commission now to do a large flying raven.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So, and what it was I met some people at a party. They have this brand new outbuilding they built on the back of behind their house, and it's got a blue wall. It's all blue siding. It's his shop. It's got a 20-foot height and 24 feet wide, and it's all blue. And he said, we wanted some kind of thing to put on that wall. It was just bare, and they're sitting in their backyard. And we got talking. I said, why don't I make that blue? That's like the sky. And I said, let's do some 3-dimensional big birds as if they're attached to that wall. So that's going to be my challenge this summer, is to figure out, like, they're soaring and flying above on that blue wall. So now I'm starting to work 3-dimensionally on location. So there's something slowly coming out of those things. But you got to remember, I'm in the middle of the prairies in Canada. we don't have the huge visibility. Social media has been pretty good to get the message out, and I think that becomes important with every artist. That you've got to get the message out somehow. And this show is great. I mean, I love this. I love this fact that.
Well, the nice thing is we have 12 fans globally, and we just got our stats from where we do all our shows, and we are in 23 countries between podcasting on YouTube. I think it's like we're in 100. So somebody's going to see it. So that's why. So when every time I talk to an artist, and I know some of them get frustrated with me, I'm like, so somebody wants to buy that. How much is it? And they'll be like, I don't know. I'm like, how much? There's a reason we always ask somebody, how much is it to buy it? And because if someone really wants to buy it, I mean, they can email us and we would email you, or I guess we're going to run a ticker later with your website below.
Oh, okay.
So people can go to your website, or they can just reach out to the two old farts. But it's, it's like I always say to them, how? So we've had artists, some of them be like, oh, here's what you do. And some of them reach out to these guys and this is how I ship. So we're always like, so tell us if somebody wants to buy it. And some artists don't understand international shipping. So we've taught them about how you internationally ship. There's some artists who get it. So we always like to ask them that, because if somebody does like a piece of your work, whether it's art or a sculpture, and they want it, everybody always says, and Connor Akers is a friend of the show, and he sends us something every day to post. And one of his paintings, I remember when he first brought it on, he goes, it's going to no less than $500,000. I think he sold it for 160. But at least he had a number when we first asked him. And I think he finally sold it for 160 because that was more realistic. But it was sort of like, I think and now he knows when he's on the show and we say, Paul, or when we say, Connor, what are you going to sell something for? This is what I'm thinking. What he's thinking and what it really is, two different things, but that's why we always like to ask, because, I don't want anyone to miss the opportunity if they really like your stuff, whether it's a painting, the little cartoon book, they should be able to go, I want, how is it? I got to buy it. And there you go. So whether it's Greenpeace, as you said, David, or some celebrity who just gets a kick out of that, I think it's an awesome piece of work.
I'm sorry, Stephen, because earlier on I interrupted you. You were going to ask Paul about his exhibitions that were coming up.
He has got a show to the 31st of March, I read.
Well, actually, yeah. So it is on display. You know what? I show wherever I can show. Like a lot of people, oh no, I will never show in a business or anywhere else. And I said I had an opportunity to show at an optometrist's office on the main floor off one of the busy arteries in our city. And I needed eyeglasses, and I was a brand new facility, and come in and they had nothing on the walls, absolutely nothing. And they were actually looking for some artists to put art on the walls, and I think it happens in all cities. So I said, okay, I'll put my art up, and I have a winter festival show, which is celebrating the solstice, and it was one of my really early shows from mid-90s. And it's on my website. People can see it. And so I needed the floor space in my studio. I said, well, I took all these paintings and none of them are for sale. They're just exhibition only. Right. I put them all up on the walls. It gave me some floor space that I needed. So I could keep rotating my inventory. I wish I had a Quonset in the back where I could store a storage facility. But my studio is just stuffed full. When you start doing three-dimensional work, it fills up fast, and you don't want it to get ruined. So, you never know.
We're gonna have to help you sell this stuff. I see that now. So,
we're gonna have to encourage an oil company to put that in their foyer. That would be interesting. And have a suggestion box next to it and see what happens.
Well, they might change the self-serving sign to something else.
I think Saudi,
it's not very caustic, really.
According to the Financial Times this morning, Saudi Aramco is still the last true oil company on the planet, better than Shell and BP and whatever, like the way they are structured and how they think. So we should just reach out to the House of Saudi and go, listen, you can put this in Saudi Arabia. There you go.
I will not do it. I will not do it until, you've heard of all the bands that go there and they'll play for X millions of dollars to somebody. Right. I will not do it.
Somebody with morals and scruples, finally. So
you heard it here first, people. Paul's not going to Saudi Arabia to put up an exhibition of his art.
Well, the biggest issue there
it
is
would
the
be a
NBA.
little warmer. I choose that. I wouldn't go there in July, so I had to go there right about now. So just January, February, we could go there for the sand.
The problem with Saudi Arabia is you got that little murder thing that they were involved with a few years ago. So that's usually the issue.
Allegedly, Paul. Allegedly.
Might have a little tough time with my neck a little bit with the anti-oil thing going on. You can't say too much.
No. So, but I'm telling you, there's going to be some rich sheik, whether we'll put Saudi Arabia to the side. That's probably going to be in the UAE, because in Dubai, they love everybody, and everybody loves Dubai because they don't know what to do with all their money. So somebody somewhere is going to see this and be like, I want that. So it's for sale. We just don't have a price yet. Paul and you will have to negotiate the price on this, and he'll add a Tesla if you'd like. Not the real one, but
well, I like starting high, and we can meet somewhere in the middle. It's probably a good spot. But
well, I think it has to be a telephone number to start off with. I think, Paul.
Oh my God, here we go. So I talking about a telephone number from the 1930s.
People calling me that where's that from? Delete. Oh no, that was my $1 million sale. I said no to it.
No. But no, I like I said, I think the right person sees that, and hopefully we can bring them to you. I think it sells very quickly because I think it is what it is. I think it's cartoonish in a good way. It makes its point. So, like Leo and all these people who are all into the environment, for television, I don't know if they really do anything. Yeah. But to me, that's like perfect for one of them, or for a studio head just to throw that in there. And like David said, I'm surprised nobody's like, we can make a cartoon. If SpongeBob can be a cartoon, I'm sure these two people could be a cartoon. So maybe
I mean, that's exactly what you want. Characters that are, out of a box, ready to go. Talking about the environment. I mean, come on, people. I mean, everybody's bitching about doing something, getting kids involved. This is a fantastic way to get involved. Or they can, you can have a competition. The oil companies can have a competition and say, look, can you build a whole family? Because Ethel and Reg are feeling lonely, and see what happens after that. Come on, guys.
Yeah, no, it could look very retro in somebody's place. The funny thing is, I mentioned before that you can take these wherever you go. So I was at our National Gallery in Ottawa, and there is a famous Canadian sculpture of samples work, Jack Samples work, and it's of a person sitting on a bench, just simple stuff, and he's all white, sitting on a bench, and there's Coca-Cola to one side of him, and this sculpture, but there's a big piece of black wall to the other side. So I took a photo of that, and I went back in Photoshop and I put Reg and Ethel on that wall with them. So
nice.
Then I posted on social media that Reg and Ethel have been to the mall or been to the gallery, and they visited this sculpture sample, and they fit right in with it because it's kind of that. There's a simplicity and the color and things with it. So you can have fun with your stuff if you move it around. It doesn't always have to show up in a gallery. I mean, that's kind of pretentious at a certain point anyway. But if I had to only see this one at some little gallery in some little community, you're right. It doesn't get out to where it should be visible. But if some rich rock star wants to put it in his foyer in his studio somewhere or in his house or business, then step up. It's no problem.
There you go.
We'll figure it out.
We'll get you there.
Yeah.
So we have 20. Like I said, we have people from around the world that watch this. Who knows where this will end up? Other than Saudi Arabia, we're sorry, guys, we will not sell to you. So
well, they fly the jet here. We can put it on there, and I know that they'll actually get it back. But packaging and shipping it, I'm not.
I was gonna say, if you have to package that and ship that would be, by the time you get done creating it and doing everything to get it there, it probably costs more to do that than what it would sell for.
Well, you know what? People ship glass and marble and all those different things that are really fragile. These ones are just quite light, relatively. So lots of styrofoam and bubbles, and
it'll be fine. Yeah, still you should buy it. They'll like it. So I love it. Well, the nice thing is because you are multifaceted, this is like show one. because Paul's going to be back. With next week or the week after, or whatever, because this is just like basically sculpture, and he's got other things he wants to talk about, and so this is like one of whatever. So Paul will be back to talk about painting and whatnot very soon. So we're going to talk about that off the air, and then you guys can see Paul and more of his work probably in a couple upcoming months, I would think.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Like I said, I've got a lot of things. I think a lot of what I'd like to say is maybe help other artists figure out how, when they do work, how to get it into different places as well. And mine is kind of just a sample of what I have done personally. And if we can help walk you through and get your art into places that typically wouldn't get there, or maybe you didn't think about this, oh, that's a nice venue. It's sort of like when I created the little Zine book, it was a way of giving Reginethal to people that came to the gallery. It's cheap. You run them, you make that little thing on a photocopier and you fold it up and make a little booklet. Right. So those kinds of kind of guerrilla marketing, you have to do that with your work. You can't afford the big dollars to buy the billboards, and nobody's going to back you unless you've got you've got to have your act together. You really do. You've got to figure it out. And it takes a while, and that sort of happens when I do my paintings and my sculpture, and the idea while you're working on one, you're thinking about the other one, and it all comes together. That's all I can really say. And I mean, it's fortuitous that we were able to have a conversation here and show you some of my work. I appreciate that.
We appreciate your stuff's phenomenal. Like I said, we've seen it on the site. I love it. So. We look forward to having you back, so you can help the other artists. This is David's outro, by the way. In about 20 seconds, you're going to be heavy rock and roll music, and then just stay with us. But anyway, everybody, thank you for listening or watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Click the like button. If you don't like what we said or didn't like the show, we don't care. Don't tell anybody. If you do like it, tell everybody, all your friends. And Paul will be back. Thank you, Paul, for your time today.
Thank you, Paul.
And you can
look forward to seeing you again soon.
You can catch us from wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, and whatnot. Oh, here's the rock and roll. This is the best part. This is where the show almost ends.
Well, sadly, this is the end of today's show. A really big thank you to everyone who contributed today to the show. And of course, thank you to my co-host, Stephen Oldfart. I'm David Oldfart. Don't forget, subscribe to the show and get all the latest updates from Two Old Farts Making Noises.